Hello and welcome to Red Cup Conversations. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. If you're watching us on television, you're doing so on Lake Sumter TV, Comcast Channel 13, Bright House 498, and CenturyLink Prism Channel 83. So today we're going to be talking about the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary here in Lake County and explore exactly what they do and what their role is in our local community. So I've got two guests. I've got Martin Goodwin and I've got Robert Musco. All right, see, I got them right. That's what I'm talking about. Well, welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for coming onto the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, anytime. But again, these are the kind of shows I enjoy doing. So, Martin, I'll start with you.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and the U.S., well, maybe your flotilla specifically, but the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Well, let me start with the Coast Guard Auxiliary and I'll drill down.
Okay.
Coast Guard Auxiliary is the uniformed, all-volunteer component of the United States Coast Guard. We are approximately 26,000 members strong, spread out across approximately 850 units in the United States, Guam, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Our primary mission is to promote recreational boating safety in the communities where we exist.
And here in Lake County.
Exactly, because we've got a lot of lakes, we've got a lot of waterways,
right.
and we have a lot of visitors, and that's an important part too. Other parts of our mission are to provide trained crews to augment the Coast Guard, so we are actually a force multiplier for the U.S. Coast Guard.
Okay.
We have members who stand watches at Coast Guard stations. We have members who deploy with cutters to work as food service specialists.
When you say cutters, you mean we're talking the United States Coast Guard?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
United States Coast Guard cutters. We have members who work at different stations doing chart updating, the navigational chart updating.
Okay.
We have crews who go out and make sure that channel markers, what we call aids to navigation, are properly documented with respect to their latitude and longitude, their height, the numbers that are displayed, and things along those lines. And overall, we exist primarily, again, to promote that recreational boating safety, but to also assist the Coast Guard in their operational and logistical areas.
Okay.
So the only thing that we can't do is anything that involves military operations or law enforcement. Other than that, our role with the Coast Guard is one mostly of support to them and as a resource to the recreational boating public. What we're also getting into a little more is emergency management. Recently, so our members actually staff the emergency operations centers during storm events. So,
really? So like just downtown Tavares?
Downtown Tavares.
Okay.
This last storm that we had come through here that kind of kissed our shores a little bit, we had members in the emergency, I believe Bob was one of the members in the emergency operations center, essentially standing a watch and acting as the liaison officer to the sector Jacksonville. So we do a lot of different things.
Now, how long have you been, I don't want to say an organization, but can you tell us a little bit how long your presence has been?
I'd love to. We just celebrated our 80th birthday.
80th?
80th.
Now, is that for the auxiliary?
For the auxiliary. Not for me.
Wow. Well, it certainly hope not. You look great for your age.
Well, thank you. No, we were established in 1939 as the Coast Guard Reserve. A couple of years later, in 1941, another law was passed that separated the reserve with the auxiliary. So we considered June of 1939 as our official establishment date and have been going strong ever since.
Wow. Now, see, how many people in our local area I don't want to say don't know about you, but don't know about you.
Right, exactly.
And that's with all of our lakes and all the, recreation, because we're on the Lake Harris chain of lakes, right? I mean, you can go from the Gulf to the Atlantic. There's a lot of water.
There is. And we're out here. We're out here for the Antique Boat Show every year. We're out here for the different regattas. We actually conduct safety patrols for those things. Seaplane Palooza, we were out here for that.
Oh,
So,
right.
Yeah. So I mean, those who are who spend a lot of time on the water, the boaters in our community, really should know us. If they don't, then get to know us, because we do offer some value with respect to education and vessel safety checks and things along those lines that Bob can get into. But we are a community service organization as well. We provide all sorts of programs for children with respect to learning how to be safe on the water. We offer programs called America's Waterway Watch, which helps with security on the water. So just a whole bunch of different types of things.
Okay, so then I got to ask you, what separates you from the Coast Guard itself?
We are all volunteers.
All volunteer.
We are all volunteers.
All right.
We wear uniforms. I'm wearing the tropical blue uniform. Bob is wearing the operational dress uniform. But we are all volunteers. We offer up our own boats, aircraft, and radios, and vehicles to some extent for use by the Coast Guard.
Oh, really?
I have a boat. I've got a Boston Whaler, and I've got a jet ski. And both of those vessels are Coast Guard patrol facilities. And I get orders from the Coast Guard to go out and conduct safety patrols, observation patrols, or patrols for to check the channel markers, the aids to navigation.
So, do you have your own racing stripes on this, or
Well,
is it identified as a Coast Guard vessel, or
it is identified as a Coast Guard auxiliary vessel? We do have patrol boards that we put up. There's a decal on the vessel itself that identifies it as a Coast Guard operational facility, and we carry tons of safety equipment. If we have to, if we need to conduct a rescue, all of our vessels that are offered up as facilities have to meet minimum requirements, and many of them exceed the requirements needed to have the proper safety equipment and all of the different rigging required to conduct any kind of rescue we need to do.
Okay, so you do have to be prepared for this. I mean, the Coast Guard isn't just going, oh, you have a canoe, yes, come on in.
You actually have to qualify. You have to qualify as a boat crewman. It takes about a year.
Okay.
And then if you want to actually, as a vessel owner who wants to offer up their boat as a facility, can qualify as a coxswain. And that usually takes about another year after being qualified as a boat crew member.
Okay. So now these qualifications, does that just allow you to operate your own vessel? Or, because you were alluding to, you guys are still the auxiliaries worldwide, from the sounds of it. So can you guys leave Lake County, I guess?
Oh, sure. I've crewed on missions throughout the district. I've actually been down to Miami, down to the Keys, off of Jacksonville. Within our district, we can crew. I mean, we have the qualification. The Coast Guard Auxiliary has a number of different qualifications that anyone can seek. And see, this is the beauty of the auxiliary, is that you can join and you can do, first of all, as much or as little as you'd like to do. But you can do, because you're a volunteer.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But you can also do almost anything that you want to do. With the exception of law enforcement and military operations.
Understood.
We've got an aux medical program where people who are doctors and nurses can participate in that program and help out the active duty. We've got financial counselors that are helping the active duty, especially the younger active duty members, understand this new blended retirement system that just kicked in. We've got the aux chef program, aux FS, aux food service, where we actually train individuals to how to cook in a galley on a station or on a cutter, and then they can deploy. We actually
because galleys are not your normal kitchen.
No. But
so if you're listening, you need to know that.
We actually have members who deploy on the Coast Guard cutter Eagle, which is the active tall ship that we use for sail training up at the Coast Guard Academy. Yes.
So how large is the auxiliary?
We've got about 26,000 members.
That's incredible. That's worldwide.
Worldwide. And
That's
those,
incredible. That's a
and
lot of
yeah,
people.
And those 26,000 members contribute almost 4.5 million hours a year of their time.
Again, this is an all-volunteer force.
All volunteer force.
All volunteer force. Well, if someone wanted to get information on whether the classes and courses, which I would like to get into with you, where can they get that information?
Go on the website, cgaux.org. So
right.
cgaux.org will give you all of the information. You can request a vessel safety check. You can see where there's local classes being given for boating safety. We have I think 11 different courses that we do. We have and Bob will get into this, we have a 1-day course, we have a 16-week course, so different levels of courses to allow the boating community to increase and enhance their skills.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we need to take a quick break, but when we get back, we're going to continue our conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Red Cup Conversations. Again, I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. Before the break, we were talking with Martin Goodwin, Division Commander for the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary for Division 4, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now I'd kind of like to shift gears and give Bob a little bit of the spotlight. Bob, can we talk a little bit about what role you guys perform for the local community, Jace?
Our major mission we've really been given to handle by the Coast Guard is recreational boating safety. And our job encompasses a lot in that. We attend many events such as the Antique Boat Show, Seaplane-a-Palooza, different parades. We're trying to get out in the spotlight as much as we can with the public. Number one, to let them know who we are and what we do.
Sure.
So within our realm of the safe boating, we offer classes. At any of these events we're at, we always have life jackets on display. We have pamphlets with all kinds of information from how to join and different things from federal regulations to Florida regulations for boating. And the thing here is, people will ask us, well, who needs to take a safe boating class?
I was just about to.
Everybody should have one. But if you were born after January 1st of 1988 and you intend to operate a vessel of 10 horsepower or more, it's mandatory. You have to have it.
Is that right?
Yes. Okay. So if you're going to go out there and operate a jet ski, you're going to operate a boat, you have to have this class if you're 14 or over. Okay. Now, even if you were born before 1988, you should have this class because you need to know the rules of the road of the lake.
Sure.
Being out on water is not like on a road. Everybody's going whichever which way. Everybody thinks they're the best driver. Somebody's got to look out for them.
Right.
Doesn't always work that way. It becomes a problem. It's congested. Florida has like 950,748 registered boats. They're the largest state of registered boats. Okay. Now, along with that many boats comes accidents. It's a fact of life.
Sure.
So our accident rate is higher, obviously, because we have more boats. 77% of the fatal accidents are attributed to drowning. Out of that 77%, 84% of those people were not wearing life jackets. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have a life jacket on at all times. Now, the number last year was 29 people died from drowning in Florida. So I always get to think, well, yeah, there's 950,000 boats there. That's not too bad. Yeah, those 29 people left families behind. And
Right.
why? Because they probably didn't have a life jacket on. Okay, something simple as that. Today, life jackets are not as bulky as they used to be. You can get ones that are very slim down. We've heard excuses from, what bothers my tan line? I'm too hot in it. It's too bulky. You know what? I was a lifeguard in high school. I'm a great swimmer. Well, we have Mark Spitz, who probably everybody from my generation knows is a Olympic swimmer.
Right.
And he says that when he's out on a boat, he wears a life jacket. Why? If the boat gets hit, you get knocked unconscious. I don't care how good of a swimmer you are.
It doesn't matter at that
It's not
point.
going to help you, and you're not going to have the time to grab a life jacket and put it on. Now, if a child is 6 or under, it's mandatory. They have to have on a life jacket.
Right.
The thing is, you'll see us out at boat ramps, and you're going to see, auxiliaries dressed in this type of uniform, and we offer free vessel safety checks. And what that is, for free, we're going to check your boat. We're not going to penalize you if you don't have the equipment. You're not going to get a ticket. Our job is to make sure you have the required equipment, and if you have all that on your boat, you're going to receive a Coast Guard sticker that says you have met those requirements. Okay. Now, if you don't have
And again, requirements.
okay, there are certain
Not
things
options,
not options. Those are requirements that you have to have. Okay. So now, if you choose to take your boat out on the water and not have these, if you were to get stopped by law enforcement, meaning the Coast Guard, the Sheriff, Fish and Wildlife, and you don't have these things, obviously that would be an officer's discretion is, are you going to get a warning? Are you going to get a citation? So we always try to tell people when they see that sticker on there, do they really want to come after you or do they want to go after the guy that doesn't have it? You've been checked.
Right.
And like I say, it's free. A lot of people will tell you no, they're all set or whatever. But pretty much on weekends, we're out at the ramps, we're doing this. And any information we're going to give you here, again, is available on our website at the cgaux.org. Another thing is on that website, you're going to see where can I take a safe boating class. You'd be able to click on that. It will tell you how to get information. I have information for our flotilla on who to contact by email and phone, who handles our public education. Also, on the website, you can get what's called a float plan. And what a float plan is, it's simply a document that you fill out. Would be your name, if your vessel has a name, let's say like the Mary Ann, what color it might be. You're going to put out where you're going, what lake. Then we're going to make a stop at Henry's restaurant, and then we're going to go to Joe's Bar and Grill. We're going to return, say, at 7 o'clock at night. You leave this with a responsible person. Now, 7:30 at night, you have not returned. This person now calls the authorities and says, Kris hasn't returned home. Okay, but Kris left me a float plan. Great. Where was he going? What were they? So now when they send out search and rescue, they have an idea of where you're supposed to be. Now, if you change your plans, notify that person that, hey, we took Joe's Bar and Grill out and we're going to Denny's over here. And then if you should return, you then have to notify that law enforcement, say, hey, I'm back, we're all safe. Because people go out on boats and they just go missing. They've just not returned. And people will sit there and say, well, I'm a great boater, been doing this 20 years. It's a very simple thing to fill out and leave with somebody who's responsible. So that's another thing. Within our Marine Safety Division, we have a program called the America Waterway Watch. And what that is to see something, say something on the water. So we teach people to change how they think a little bit by, when you look at a person, we're not going to look at that person maybe the way he's dressed, whether it be a religious thing or a nationality thing, because that's not going to give us an indicator if he might be a terrorist.
No, of course not.
But we're going to watch his suspicious behavior. That's what's going to get your attention. Okay, so, if I see 2 scuba divers near an outlet pipe at a nuclear power plant with a hole cut in a fence, I'm going to find that a little suspicious. And in this class, we teach you a number to call that's manned 24/7. And you would call and say, hey, listen, I'm out at Lake so-and-so. There's 2 scuba divers here. And it's not your job. You're not an agent of the Coast Guard. You don't have any powers. And it's not your job to really decide whether to, but you saw something, you've said something. Now, that law enforcement entity is probably going to call the nuclear power plant and say, hey, are you guys doing any repairs that you would have? And they'll say, yes, we do. Perfect, okay? Or no, we don't.
Foul, or no, we don't.
You can better believe that somebody's going to be out there and they're going to be checking this out. Again, we offer an 8-hour about boating safely class. Then we have a 13-week class, which is boating seamanship, and you get into a little more things about navigation and charting, and that is done over at Lake Tech.
Really?
Yeah, Lake Tech.
13 week.
13 weeks, Wednesdays, one night a week.
No, but that's I like that. That's interesting.
And all of our instructors, we teach. We don't get paid. There's a fee for the class, but that's basically for the materials that we have.
Right.
And again, like I said, any one of the information that we've given you here is on the cgaux.org website. And I could also give you the information for the person for public education. And one other thing I want to touch with is we pretty much have a new campaign now, Marine Safety, where we talk about uninspected passenger vessels. And these are the boats that take you out on a charter fishing for like 3 or 4 people.
Okay.
Our big thing now is anytime you get a boat for hire, where you're either paying or trading a service, okay, that captain needs to have what's called mariner credentials from the Coast Guard. And we're urging people.
Now we're talking this is requirement.
This is a requirement.
Okay.
Now, what's not a requirement is for him to have the vessel safety check. Okay? He does have to have all of that required stuff on the boat,
Sure.
but he doesn't have to commit to a volunteer safety check if they don't want to. So what we're trying to push to the public is look for that sticker on the boat. Okay? Look for that sticker, you know it's on the boat. You know that boat has been checked.
Right.
You know it has all the equipment on it, and you should feel safer. When you get on a boat, if the captain or his mate does not tell you where life jackets and stuff for safety are located on that vessel, don't be afraid to ask. Okay? Don't wait till it's too late.
Right.
So we're really pushing this that, listen, if you're going to get a captain for hire, then make sure you're getting a good boat. Make sure you're getting a safe boat.
Right. And I got to say, you piqued my interest because I'm going back to the life jackets for now. People don't wear them. They just don't. And I'll be honest with you, I don't do a lot of boating, but the few times I have been, you get on this nice barge, not barge, but basically a pontoon party boat, and it's all flat deck, and people are kind of walking around, which is, I've fortunately not seen anybody fall off, but the whole time I'm sitting there going, how is it no one's toppled over?
Right.
People, I think we've just grown out of that concept of safety. Do you find that to be true? I get it. I know they're uncomfortable, but you're right. They're not made like they used to. It's not the old school orange behind the neck and rub you raw with white straps under the arms.
Well, you have to remember one thing. It's not going to happen to me.
That's it.
It's not going
That's it.
to. I'm smart. I'm
The
good.
complacency.
I'm very watchful. I'm very mindful of my children on the boat. And I tell people in a class that I've seen parents holding a 2 or 3-year-old at the bow of the boat like this in their arm, feet hanging off. I says, they don't have a life jacket on, number one. Number two is, what does it take to hit a wave, roughly, have that child bounce out of your hands? I said, now, best case scenario is that the hull of the boat doesn't hit him and kill him or run him over and the prop catches him.
Right, because when that happens,
It's a split second.
it's over.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a split second. And look, when we sit on the bow of the boat, none of us think about the worst case scenario. Everything's okay because, look, I'm the parent. Nobody's going to look out for my child more than I am for their safety. And you think you're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
but you're really not. Everybody on that vessel, and I cannot stress it enough, should always wear a life jacket.
Yeah.
And, if you don't know what kind to have, go to a marine store, talk to them about what you're going to do, and they are prepared to tell you what type of life jacket that you should have for the application that you're going to need it for.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, that's almost all the time we have. Is there any last second want to get this out to the public, be aware of, any calls to action?
I would simply say, just be safe out there when you go out on a boat, and know that we're here. We're here as a resource for the recreational boating community. We're on the water doing safety patrols, and we're out there to help everybody.
And you're not the enemy.
Exactly. When we're doing a vessel safety check, we're not there to pass or fail you. Right. We're there to have a conversation and make sure that you understand the safety equipment and what the mandated requirements are.
All right. Well, Martin, Robert, thank you guys so much for taking the time to come share some of this very important information.
Thank you.
And that does it for this episode of Red Cup Conversations. I've been your host, Kris Poliquin. We'll see you next time.